Cool. So what we're gonna probably do is do a 20-minute session and then have the last 5 minutes for questions. Just to get a sense, I think already Ronen checked how many of you are app developers. So there are a few here. Just to get a sense of the level of understanding, how many of you understand terms like DAU, MAU? Nope. And how many of you got the part about D7, D30? So DAU means daily active users. So you're measuring how many people are using your app. D7, D30 refers to how many people are still using your app, what percentage of people are using your app who started using it on day one, and so on. Just to get a sense for, because the level of discussion of analytics needs to be catered to the audience, right? So just to introduce the folks here, it's an interesting combination. We have two people who come from the advertising measurement side of things, where right from when someone installs your app, you need to know who is driving what kind of installs, what quality of installs, how those people behave differently based on the source from which the install came. Like you did a campaign on Facebook, you did a campaign on a different network, and how did people differ in quality? So that's what Ronen was talking about in the previous session as well. So Manbir and Ronen both come from that side of what is called attribution and analytics based on that attribution. Myself, I am one of the founders of a company called Konotor, which is more into engagement when a user is using your app. And Manan and Pritesh are at the other end of the spectrum, where people are uninstalling your apps, right? So Manan comes from retention.ai, Pritesh from uninstall.io, and their goal is to help you figure out the mystery behind the whole uninstalls that are happening rapidly. In fact, in a country like ours, which is more Android dominated, we see a lot more behavior of uninstall and reinstall, and they're sort of getting around the mystery of that. With that being said, just to give a little bit of context, so analytics itself, we have different kinds of analytics, right? So right from traction analytics, engagement related analytics, retention related analytics, marketing related analytics, virality related analytics, revenue related analytics, and the general usage metrics. So I think we'll structure it in such a way that we take one topic at first, let's say traction, right? So which is downloads, installs, and talk about how things have been changing today. And I think what we used to look at is just how many people have downloaded your app, how many new users you got, and so on. But I'm going to ask Manbir to talk a little more about how he feels that's changing given the kind of sources that are driving analytics today, installs today.
Thanks, Sri. So I'll just give a brief about, so we are from an app analytics company. So if you talk about app analytics or mobile analytics, it's a new thing for India, right? The mobile business has just overtaken the web business, and it's growing on a rapid pace. If you talk about India, India is the highest mobile, so Android users are increasing the maximum in India in the past few years, and it's estimated to grow even thrice by 2020. So what do you do here? How are the users growing? How many are the organic users and how many are the paid users? You need to understand how are users, what app developers want from the market, and what ad networks, which are the mediator companies in India, who actually deliver the unique users, or they acquire users in the market for these advertisers. All the advertisers may be from e-com companies or from the travel companies. They've got different needs which the ad networks are now focusing on. So if you talk about user acquisition, in early stages, as in the earlier presentation from Uplift, he mentioned that it was pay for instant pay for downloads and you get users. But now the trend is evolving. There's a hidden analytics that Google Play is working on, which we try to focus, and all the app advertisers try to actually collate the data and understand what is the analytics, how my app comes onto the top charts of Google Play, right? So basic analytics, if you talk about, was the number of downloads that happen in a given day. So if you say, if it's a Flipkart, it has 20,000 downloads a day, your app would be on the top charts. That has been the case in the past days. But now Google Play had changed the analytics, and the analytics was changed to how many installs and uninstalls you had. So the remaining installs that you had post your uninstalls was considered to be a matrix to bring your app on the top charts. Now what is happening is they have again changed the analytics, which is not again disclosed to the market. It's just your marketer's perception. How do you understand? Now the analytics says how many users actually retain on your app, right? So if you talk about user retention, it's people coming onto your app and registering on your app and staying on your app or opening your app or interacting with your app at least 4 times in 7 days from the date of installation. So if I talk about this, so there's an interesting fact which happens with all of these analytics. The entire movement changes, right? From, if you talk about from the advertiser's perspective, first he was paying you to get users install the app. Now a Flipkart would come back to you and say, hey, I don't want app installs, I want genuine users coming in. He'll compare so they are different sources. Major source in India is ad network business. So you have got names like Tyru and Affle and InMobi who are handling the affiliate channel, right? So Flipkart would come and tell these ad networks that, hey, I don't want app installs. I want genuine users who would come to me, who would download my app. And now the second matrix was install. First was install and open. Now it's install and register. And it is moving forward to install and events. For a Flipkart, event could be a add to cart, or it could be a final purchase, right? The final purchase and the final purchase amount is being measured by these app developers. So if you talk about Make My Trip, it could be people coming and installing the app and actually searching for flights, relevant flights from the app, right? So these are the analytics platform that these e-com and other players, travel players are looking after. But if you talk about how do ad networks work on this, how does retention works, so they're different. Now that Google Play has changed the analytics of app ranking, there are different retention modules. So if you talk about different retention modules, they are, so there could be a practical example wherein Quicker comes and Quicker tells you that you need a 50% retention here. So 50% retention for our ad networks is a difficult thing to do. You need to figure out, you need to get the user, a genuine user, to actually download Quicker, search for ads, post for ads, and then only your app attribution works, right?
That's very, just to summarize what he's saying here so far, it seems like the way people have been garnering installs has changed in a big way, from just being advertising to incent downloads, right? And hence, the tracking of, how you're paying for your installs has changed from cost per install to now cost per engaged user, cost per registered user, cost per user who added to cart, and so on, right? So what a person is paying for has changed from just an install to a little more detailed based on what the user is actually doing after they install. I think there was an interesting thought that we had before from Pritesh as well with respect to how this cost of installs has been changing based on, the effective cost of installs has been changing based on metrics around uninstalls and so on. Do you want to add to how
yeah, absolutely. So I am co-founder of Uninstaller.io. We measure app uninstalls. And one of the things that we do is we help mobile apps understand the individual channels from which they are procuring installs, how effective they are, and what quality of users are they downloading from an uninstall angle. So we help them measure installs and uninstalls per source, so they can identify the quality of a network or an ad network or a channel, and therefore take a call on how they want to allocate money to individual channels. So up until now, everyone used to measure CPI, which is cost per install, as only considering the number of downloads or installs that have happened. But in effect, one important metric which was always missing was the churn or the uninstall rate. And that's something that every mobile marketing manager should take into consideration while calculating the effective CPI from a particular network or the net CPI from a particular network. They should always measure not just the installs, but also the uninstalls and the virality factor to determine what was the net CPI from a particular source.
Cool. So in terms of this whole install, uninstall behavior, which a lot of us are seeing, right? Do you guys, since Manan and Pritesh, you guys are specifically have access to this data, having worked with a bunch of apps, what do you see as trends, let's say D7, D30, or I mean, do you have any numbers you can share around how people are uninstalling, how often people are uninstalling, do they reinstall apps, anything around that?
I'll just say a quick one and then give it to you. All right, so one very interesting trend that we have observed, people measure retention. When they talk about retention, they only talk about how many users are active, right? But retention is actually about how many users are still with you, how many users have your app still installed on your phone. They've not deleted your app or uninstalled your app. So one very interesting trend that we have seen is more than 50% of your users uninstall your app in the first 1 or 2 days itself, right? And so it's very important that you measure the quality of downloads and the individual channels to actually determine which is good for you and can give you more retention. I'll let Manan talk more about the other numbers.
So I'm co-founder of retention.ai. We are an analytics tool which helps developers and marketers measure efficiency of marketing channels and measure uninstalls, and we help them get the users back. So as Pritesh said that, close to 50% of the users who install the app will end up uninstalling the app within D2 to D7 period. What's more interesting is that out of the 50% users who are uninstalling the app, 60% of them, so 30% of the overall install base that you will have will uninstall the app in the first day itself. Most of these users, so this 30% number also applies to users who are uninstalling the app in one session or less. So most of the users that you will end up acquiring will either open your app just once or even will not never open the app before deciding to uninstall it. Another very interesting set of data that we have observed is that those who are uninstalling the app within 7 days of install, their total amount of time that they have spent inside the app is less than 20 seconds. So, what becomes very important for developers, product managers, is to create, onboarding flows so that, you get users to spend more time and, you communicate your value proposition to them very specifically.
That's very interesting, the number around how many people have done just one session or less than 30 seconds in your app. Is that a trend that, I mean, some sort of show of hands of people who face that as a problem, who see your apps not having, having a large percentage of people who have under 5 sessions in your app, for instance? Okay, I see one hand there. Maybe the others aren't measuring that yet. You should go and look at your analytics to figure out if you are facing the problem of early churn, right? So people who started using your app and never came back after one session or so. I'll go on.
So another interesting metric, which I think should be looked at closely, is what percentage, so statistically speaking, 90% of your users who have uninstalled your app, around 90% will never come back and reinstall the app again. Now, when someone installs an app, they take the pain of downloading and install the app, right? So what an interesting trend that we have been observing is right now, there are people who still come back and install the app again, broad range of 5 to 15% approximately who come and reinstall the app again. So there is a very huge opportunity. If you measure these metrics, there is a huge opportunity of utilizing that data of people who uninstalled to go back and retarget them, win them back using the existing retargeting channels. So therefore, this reinstalls become a very important metric, and the costs will also impact significantly because of that. I guess, Ronen, you...
Yeah, maybe I'll give an example of kind of a use case there, because this kind of will put it more into perspective. So you're doing marketing, you acquire a bunch of users, okay? You do it across multiple channels, Facebook, Twitter, SMS blast, email, TV. So you get these users, and let's just say you are a travel app, yeah? And someone's searching flights from Chennai to Delhi, and they can't find any flights available. They say, my God, this app sucks, I'm gonna delete it. So they remove the app. Now first you have a context. You know this user is looking for flights. Secondly, you know they're looking for flights from Chennai to Delhi. So now you can actually take this data and you can retarget them. So you know that they've uninstalled your app. So you want to drive them back in. So you need to do what we call a deep linking. So first you target them with a specific offer. The offer is maybe, here's now actually the flight that you're looking for. And they're like, oh, how did this know? They click on the ad, they go back to the app store, they install the app again, and when they open the app, look, it's the flight that they were searching for. So all this data is now becoming available to you. You have the tools in hand to use. And it becomes very powerful as marketers on mobile to know how to engage users and how to re-engage them.
Right, so the user may be available in different geos, but you have got advanced features where you can niche target the users. Female targeting, male targeting, age, gender targeting, all of those is possible on mobile.
Right, and I think what's been interesting is, there have been pure play analytics products like a Mixpanel and so on, which a lot of us use, Google Analytics and so on in the past, which all of us have used to track things like cohorts and so on. But what's happening is by tying that data back into either a uninstall information or a source information, you can act on it in different ways. So Ronen, you want to talk about, I think we had a discussion outside, we were discussing about how sub-publishers impact some of these and how you can act on those.
Yeah, so I think the industry has evolved to give you as marketers more visibility. More visibility means not only who are the networks you are working with, but who are the publishers or the sites that those networks are getting the traffic from. So for example, if you're working, let's say, with Facebook, you know that it's all Facebook. But if you're working with an ad network, whether it's a Tyru or an InMobi or something like that, you want to be able to go down into another level to see, for example, these 5 publishers that are generating traffic, 3 of them are actually giving you very, very, very good user quality. But 2 of these publishers are actually not performing at all. So you can go down to that resolution and make decisions saying, okay, I want to target more of those users from those 3 publishers, and please don't send me any more users from those other 2 because they're not giving me any value. And this is the resolution that is available at your fingertips now. You just have to use the tools that are out there to make it happen.
Makes sense. So overall, okay, I think it's time up. So we'll just throw it open to a few questions from the audience, if any. Sure. Sure. There's one at the back.
Absolutely.
How much more expensive this is compared to getting him in the first place?
So I would look at it this way, right? You've already lost that user. So you've already accounted for the fact that he's not going to give you any revenue, right? So whatever more you earn on top of, for every user that you win back is a bonus for you, right? So for every user that you win back who makes a transaction on your platform, you would be happy to share a portion of that. So that's extra money for you. So that's how I would look at it. But
so
generally,
I think, the more you tune that targeting, make it personal for that user, knowing that he was using your app, if a platform like one of theirs is able to tell you why they uninstalled the app, for instance, and you can essentially pitch to them through your ad saying why they should install it again. I think if you hit the right message, probably it's going to be cheaper to acquire that user again than the first time.
Sure.
Any other questions? Sure. Right. So I'm also going to take a stab at that because it's a topic I have been following a lot. So broadly, so the question was, what's the reason people usually uninstall apps, right? The biggest reason is usually that you got them through an incentivized campaign and they have no interest in your app really. They just wanted to earn rewards in a different game they were playing, or they wanted to make airtime money through installing your app. And it wasn't relevant to them, right? But if you look at why people will keep your app, I think there's broadly 3 reasons. One is there's great utility. Second is there's some sort of a pure angle of, others are on it right now and it gives you value because of the fact that there's others on it. Third is there's some sort of a surprise element perhaps that you don't want to miss out. The fear of missing out, if you don't have this app, you're not going to get an offer, things like that, which today, given the number of offers that say e-commerce players have out there, this fear of missing out is not really there. But overall, I think if you have an app that's trustworthy for the user, performs what it's supposed to do, doesn't crash on you and so on, doesn't have any vulnerabilities that are made public, people, if it's relevant to them, they're going to keep the app.
Yeah, it's more about how much the user interface appeals you of the app. How easy is it to use the app? If it's a complicated app, you won't mind. So you have got similar apps option on Google Play. So you look for more similar apps which are more efficient and which are more user friendly. First thing. Second thing, if you talk about mobile marketing, all the apps are providing you specialized mobile offers. So if you download Make My Trip, you get a 500 off on a mobile app, which you don't get on a website. So if a Clear Trip is not giving you those offers, you would definitely uninstall a Clear Trip and jump onto a Make My Trip, right? So that has been my experience within these 2 days booking my flight. So I preferred, the Make My Trip to be better than a Clear Trip. So that's the reason I didn't opt for Clear Trip.
Uninstall guys wants to give a more data-centric answer.
I'll just give top 3 reasons maybe from the data points that we have. First, and typical to India as well, a very surprising element has come out to be storage, which is consistent. A lot of people uninstall the apps because of the space that's left on their phone. Typically, they install a lot of apps, they don't use it for a long time, and then suddenly when they're free, over the weekend maybe, they just try cleansing the phone. So that's one very interesting thing that's happened. Second has been also crashes. Crashes has been a big reason when we start seeing a spike in uninstall rate of apps, and that's also been consistent. Third, typically has been something that just Manbir spoke about, is the promise that was given when someone installed an app. Right? Most of the users either install the app by searching or by recommendation and some ads. Right? So for example, a coupon that was published widely by some app. So you see the coupon, you download the app, and all of a sudden see that there's the coupon does not work, or what was promised against that coupon does not apply. So the experience part of it, the promise is not fulfilled. And therefore people get irritated or agitated and straight away remove the app. So that comes back to his point of trust. So you lose trust in an app, and then it's difficult to regain that trust again. So those are three. Manan, if you have something.
So I want to add just one point to what Pritesh already said. One of the reasons that we have seen that goes behind uninstalls is incessant and inappropriate use of push notifications. Of course, it depends for different categories of apps, but what we have seen is that if you are sending more than 6 notifications between 2 consecutive sessions, the probability that the user is going to delete your app increases by 35% to 40%. So, also a lot of developers or marketers are not targeting the notifications correctly, judging from the user's actions. So, if you can, as marketer or product manager, you can, better cater to your users' needs through notifications. I think, you can see a reduction in your uninstall rate.
I get about 150 installs a day, but I have no clue where those are coming from, what keywords are being used. In the case of website, a referrer would always tell me, but here I'm not able to get the detail.
What's the kind of app you have?
It's a utility app.
Utility app is the highest converting app, I would say, after entertainment in India. So, because users actually find it interesting that this app would help me out in some way, right? So first it's entertainment, and then is utility, which converts well. Third comes the gaming part, and fourth is e-commerce. So e-commerce and gaming actually interchange 3 and 4 positions in the category.
So I think in terms of, he wants to know what keywords people are searching for.
Or from which websites these people are coming to my Play Store to do the installs.
That's one thing is badly missing in the Google Play Store analytics. No one. Sorry.
Yeah. So in fact, if it's coming from other sources, folks like
AppsFlyer is the right place.
You can measure, for example, if you're running Google search campaigns, you can see which keywords are actually driving your users in, and then take those keywords and scale up your budgets on them. So you have that resolution there. You just need to look at it, right? So all that data is there. So you can see the best performing keywords, poorest keywords, cut your budget where it's not working for you, and scale up where it is. So the key here is always to put good money after good money, not chase bad money, right? So even if you're not running a campaign, if you have some tool inside that is tracking it, whether it's a Google Analytics or a platform like AppsFlyer, you can see where your users are coming from. It doesn't matter if it's organic or non-organic.
Yeah.
All right, thanks folks. Please give a big round of applause. There was a whole bunch of insights. I hope you take them back and make them good.